We're back with our politics lead. Lots more to talk about with Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. Senator, you're against President Trump's $110 billion weapons deal with Saudi Arabia. Tomorrow, the Senate will vote on your legislation to block the deal. Last week, the Saudis and other Gulf nations cut off ties with Qatar and accused that country of funding terrorism in the region. President Trump seems to clearly be siding with the Saudis. Are you concerned at all that he's emboldening a country that itself has a long history of supporting terrorism?
Yeah, I think one of the most important emails and information that we got from the leaked emails from Hillary Clinton was an email she sent to John Podesta. And in it, she said, we need to put pressure on the Saudis and the Qataris because they're giving financial and logistical help to ISIS. So we're going to give or sell $350 billion worth of weapons to a country that the insiders were saying were actually giving weapons to ISIS. That's a real problem for me. If you follow Bob Graham and the 28 missing pages in the 9/11 investigation, there's a lot of information that suggests Saudi Arabia was involved. 15 of the 19 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. They have a terrible human rights record. I can list 20 reasons why I'm very concerned about giving them weapons. But one of those things is also coming up this week is we're unhappy with Iran for developing ballistic missiles. Well, guess what? Iran develops them in response to Saudi Arabia getting more weapons. It's an arms race over there, and we're fueling it.
Let's talk about tomorrow when your former colleague, now Attorney General Jeff Sessions, testifies before the Senate Intelligence Committee. The White House suggested today that Sessions might invoke executive privilege depending on the questions that are asked. Do you think that might be a mistake?
I guess it depends on the questions. I don't really know what that'll be about necessarily. I still think that we've got a special counsel. Let's let them do their job. The rest is all for show. This is political theater, and really those committees aren't getting anywhere. If there really was anything done wrong, it'll come out of the special counsel, and my suspicion is very little, if anything, will come out of there. There may be some people who didn't file their paperwork appropriately or didn't file to be registered as foreign agents, but I kind of doubt there's going to be anything that, look, Jeff Sessions, I think, was known as a hardliner on Russia, so it's kind of crazy to sort of say, oh, he must have been meeting with them in some secret deal with the Russians. He was known as a hardliner, all right? And so I don't think that any of that's really going to cut anywhere, but I think we keep going after it. But I think there's a political operation going on, and I think dwelling so much in this stuff.
The White House and President Trump, both of them refused to confirm whether or not there are tapes that might clear up the different stories we have about his conversations with Comey. I want you to take a listen to what your colleague, Republican Senator Susan Collins, said on State of the Union.
This is an issue that the president should have cleared up in his press conference. He should give a straight yes or no to the answer to the question of whether or not the tapes exist, and he should voluntarily turn them over not only to the Senate Intelligence Committee but to the special counsel.
Do you agree, Senator?
I personally am not a big fan of recording private information, private calls between people who don't know they're being recorded. And so many states have rules against this. The White House is an unusual situation, though, where basically they call it a unitary executive. The president's in charge, and whether he ought to do something is one thing, whether he has to do something is another. I don't think it was an appropriate thing to threaten Comey on it. But I think the interesting thing that is lost by some people about Comey's testimony is I think it completely vindicated everything the president had said. Comey said he wasn't being investigated. Comey said he kind of felt pressured, but he really wasn't told directly not to do anything. And the president said he hoped he hadn't done anything. I don't know when hoping you don't do something is an obstruction of justice. So I think there's absolutely nothing here to go on, but eventually we'll get to the bottom of it through the special counsel. But this is sort of what happens. Both sides do this. Every time we get a new president, one side spends years and years attacking them and trying to gin up investigations, and then immediately it'll happen. And the other side, both parties are guilty of it, but it is a distraction from a lot of things that we do need to do in this country that are much more important. I would say trying to fix the healthcare system, trying to look and fix our tax code so we don't lose businesses overseas are way more important than I think a politicized look at this Russia thing.
All right, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, I really appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.